Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Today, I want to talk a little bit about Experian, the automotive media marketplace, and Full Throttle AI. So, today, here I have with me Michael Krop, Vice President of Data Advertising Solutions for Experian Automotive. How are you, Michael? Thanks for being here.
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah, for sure. So, Michael and I were catching up just a little bit before we started here, and I thought it might be a great way for anyone watching or listening, you've probably heard of Experian, all the different ways Experian is used really in the country and the world and so many different industries. And Experian Automotive is a really powerful, one of the most powerful parts of the entire Experian, portfolio and platform. Maybe in the simplest way, Michael, if you can talk to the average agency person, the average dealer, what is Experian Auto? Why is it such a big part of the entire Experian portfolio?
Well, Experience sits in a really unique space because we capture signals across the entire automotive complex. We understand consumer ownership, obviously, through a lot of our regulated data.
Mhm.
But we model all that data, and we've done a really good job at creating in this short 5, 7 years audiences that are very predictable. They're tight audiences. The models are really built strong, and we like to think that we combine precision, audience, and scale, especially for from a big advertiser like Ford Motor Company all the way down to the dealer that's looking for
Mhm.
that consumer, depending on the campaign tactic. Could be
Yeah.
service related, there's lease, there's all kinds of things. And I think the best way to think about what we do really well is put your hat on like a direct mail piece from
Right.
years ago. We've done that, and we do a great job of that, working with dealers and marketing agencies on behalf of dealers on that side of the business, and we've translated that into the digital ecosystem. So that's sort of, it might be a long-winded way to say we
Yeah.
we complete the automotive consumer that
Yeah.
companies like yourself could help bring value to your customers, your dealers.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I think there's, one way I think of that is that there's so much amazing raw potential in being in an Experian Automotive and being part of the
Yeah,
larger
yeah,
Experian portfolio, and just kind of how all these businesses work with each other to create tremendous value in audiences and meaningful signals and data points that are relevant
yeah.
for agencies, relevant for dealers, relevant for franchises, even relevant, obviously, outside of the automotive space as well. Um,
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about why you think curated digital audiences are powerful, and where, kind of a two-parter, where you think it has a fit with the automotive media marketplace and the world's first automotive DSP by Full Throttle AI.
Yeah, so I'll talk from way up in the clouds from a manufacturer's perspective. Their expectations and their desires from a marketing perspective are much different than a dealer.
Right.
Clearly, they're doing a lot more brand, a lot more awareness at the top, at that higher level. And I think when you bring it down to the dealer level, they have to have more curation. They have tactics that they're trying to accomplish. And I think what AMM is actually bringing to the marketplace is super unique, because you're basically bringing that journey opportunity to the dealer in a digital way. I'm not saying that existing marketing that dealers do is completely wasteful. It's
Of
not.
course.
It has
Right.
value, but I think whether it's technology, or the tools that we use to make models better, curating things that give dealers not just precision but tactic and some reach, because you definitely need scale.
Yes.
I think the misnomer is that first party data is the all end all be all. it's a critical part of a, say, a dealer's marketing, but you can't go back to the same guy that's just bought a car a year ago.
Right.
Constantly, you need to grow your business,
Of
so
course.
you need to be, you have to have the pulse on uh, people that have leases coming up, as an example. I
Right.
think, you could also use sort of profitability scores in a
Yep.
model. That's very specific for dealers and their locations and zip codes that understand their marketplace. And I think what AMM is bringing to them is tremendous value, because it's taking a lot of the clutter out of it, and it's
Yes.
kind of like, all right, let's just talk about my marketplace. I think
Yeah.
market area is important for dealers.
Yeah, for sure. And the way that I interpret that too is, in a marketplace, it's important to have really valuable audiences that you bring in. But it's also marketplaces can be very confusing, especially when there's so many options. People have
Yeah,
seen all kinds of audiences. Everyone has the best audience, is in every slide and every PowerPoint. Everyone has the
you
best.
got it. Yeah,
And so like the easy button, not to pull off Staples, but like the easy button is something that every automotive agency, every automotive dealer, and even OEMs and kind of tier two organizations are looking for an easy button that brings everything together. One interesting perspective that we bring from the full throttle AI perspective as an automotive DSP is that we bring a lot of first party data into the ad tech world, right? So we're bringing DMS data, CRM data, we
yeah,
bring website data, and there's a lot of great in-market signals there. We're probably the only ad tech company to bring a native DMS integration directly into
sure.
kind of an ad account for the open internet. And to your point, you can't just be on first party data. I think the beauty, the art, and the magic is when you're pairing really powerful seeds of first party data, again, from
That's
your
it.
DMS or CRM, you're creating lookalikes, and you're creating a cohort of specially curated audiences using really meaningful signals across the open internet, and especially these powerful signals that are coming from a premium source like Experian Automotive.
Yeah.
And when you put those things together, you do some really, really interesting use cases. So I'm going to mention a couple use cases and kind of get your thoughts on them, right? So
Hmm.
today, a way that a agency or a dealer, or agency doing on behalf of the dealer might be able to use this new marketplace and this new technology with Full Throttle too, is to say, listen, I want to build and launch a campaign in 2 minutes, right? Literally 120 seconds. And I want to bring together my lease upgrades who have less than 6 months left on their lease. I want to bring
Right.
my lease conquest audiences using these really powerful intent premium audiences from Experian Automotive. I want to, drag and drop my display and CTV kind of video campaign. And I want to target Univision CTV inventory,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
and really gear it towards a Hispanic market as the inventory is.
Hmm.
Today, it would take agencies or dealers wouldn't even know where to start. But I think for most dealers wouldn't
Correct.
start. It would take them. I compare it to like the Cirque du Soleil, right? So I don't know if you've ever seen it in Vegas or
Uh-huh.
that,
Sure.
but it feels like you are, jumping through hoops, you're doing somersaults, and it takes too long. So if you have an easy button, right, and you can bring all of that into one place, that's where people have heard maybe the words of like audiences and inventory and CTV, but the easy button is really like miniaturizing it and bringing it to a
Yeah.
level that can actually create value and get dealers to go to market fast.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's funny you say that, because most of the, whether it's a dealer doing it themselves or their
Yeah.
agency, they don't have the sophistication or the time to do it at like a tier one level does. You're working with one of the bigger tier one agencies. They have people that could go in and I mean, we have no less than 1,000 audiences out there.
Yeah.
You that level of sophistication is for an agency to do. For the dealer, they don't. But the
Yeah,
deal,
yeah,
the one
you
thing
need
that,
like you need a seven-figure tech stack and a seven-figure labor,
yeah,
force, right? Together to really, make proper use of that.
to make proper use of it.
Yeah.
And I think when I think what hasn't changed, and you can't change consumer behavior the way things work in the auto business. There's a journey. The minute you drive off that lot with a car, new or used, a journey starts. And I think what you guys are doing, which is really unique, is curating that journey, which is
Yeah.
very tactical for the dealer. That's how the dealer operates. That's how they think. I have, I need to drive more service. You have a service related one.
Right.
I fish where luxury shoppers are because I'm a luxury, I am a BMW
Yeah.
branded dealer. I need curation around that kind of consumer. And I think when you guys can bring it quicker to them, you're first of all, you're being much more foresight. I think when we acquired Audigent, I learned a lot more about curation because that's sort of what Audigent does, right?
Right. Right.
And that's the part that always got me. Like, what are dealers really doing? When they send stuff off to the ether, I don't know if their agency actually knows where things are landing, for instance. I think what you guys are doing with very specific, from an automotive perspective, a lens, you hear things differently than someone in pharma or someone in finance, for instance. You know the marketplace. So I think
Yeah.
it's a real interesting benefit that you're bringing to the
Yeah.
marketplace right
You
now.
know, the other thing I think about, I'm curious about your personal preferences too. So like when there's two kinds of restaurants I go to, right? And first restaurants I go to, and many of them do tend to be Asian, style food. There's maybe 100 items on the menu, right? And I go
Yeah,
there and I love it. There's just so many choices, but I also get stuck in paralysis, and I'm like, and then like everyone's looking at me, hey, you got to decide, man. Like I'm so many choices,
right,
and I'm like, I just
right,
want the best. I don't really want to choose. I just want the best. Just give me the best thing,
sure,
right?
right,
Because I know I just want to have great tasting food. I don't want to go through
right,
100 things and try to figure out what might be the best tasting food, right? And
right.
then I go to like other kinds of restaurants, and there's like 7 things on the menu, and I was like, this is great because I just want to have a great experience. I want to have great food, right? And I love that there's 7 things because I'm just going to choose between these 7 things or all seven, whatever,
Sure.
and I'm able to run. What about you? What's your personal preference?
Well, I actually use we just posted something not too
Yeah.
long ago. I think what the most important thing that we bring to the table for you is we're going to pack all those signals up, so you're going to be able to do it. So it totally makes sense to me. We use I'm the same way. The menu, when you go to like some of these restaurants and they have like 5 pages of food,
Yeah.
I can't do it. And even if as a wine, like I like to drink wine, but even it's daunting when you see all these wines from all these different parts, and I'm like, can't you just tell me
Right.
what's the best Pinot from Willamette Valley? That sort of
Right.
stuff.
Right.
So I think you're definitely. What's going to be interesting is to see how much you expand that product portfolio for the dealers, because
Yes.
they're going to ask questions as you start rolling this out because they've never been asked that before.
Right. Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and interesting. Not to kind of make the derivation, but we see a lot of that in a lot of our direct marketing efforts with the agencies and
Yes.
technology companies that are doing more direct mail. They
Yeah.
have very specific things that they're
Right.
going after, which I
Yeah.
think is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's great. So, maybe you can give us a little overview or tell us a little bit about the number we're starting to your point, right? Of like a set number of curated premium audiences that we're bringing into the Full Throttle platform and into the AMM media marketplace, so that dealers have choice, agency have choice, OEMs have choice. but not too much choice, right?
Not
Because
too much
they need
choice.
to be able
Exactly.
to get to market fast and execute on strategy fast. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about, some of the audiences so the listeners get a sense of what they are.
Well, I think just starting out with you guys, you're going to have your general segments that they need to touch.
Yeah.
So you need to understand who EV and hybrid enthusiasts are.
Yep.
One thing that what you're leveraging from using our audiences obviously is the signals that we get are there's so many signals that we get just from an automotive perspective. But when
Yeah.
you start bringing it in financial related signals, consumer related signals, you're going to find more scale in that EV and hybrid enthusiast as an example. So I think that's one area where I think is great. I think the fact that you're using profitability score as a proxy in one of your audiences makes a ton of sense. That's
Yeah.
that's the mindset that you're bringing to the marketplace that you can't get at a large DSP. They just they can't do that. They're not going to talk in the language of a dealer when it comes to something like that. Um,
Automotive it's a beast of a different kind,
it,
it's very specialty and it's hard to get other tech to kind of bend and mold into what you want,
you,
right?
you
Yeah.
can't they because as much as we think automotive is the greatest, and they're not going to just keep iterating. If you're a large DSP, down to the minutia of the way the dealer talks, they just can't do. They have to play one to many, so to speak, in their marketplace. Yeah, I
Right.
think you have to have Lux and non-Lux is critical. And I honestly, I think one thing that you guys did do is go after the ultra luxury vehicle segment.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised at how much when you're configuring cars, like you could actually configure a Ford Explorer and it would be as expensive as an ultra luxury. Like that's what's starting to go on with
Right.
costs and affordability. So it's an
Right.
important kind of segment to go after. But I think the ones that you're doing that are much more specific and speak to the dealers are things like life cycle, are things like service segments. Uh, our signals for that are fantastic. We also do a lot around the do it for me, do it yourself kind of guys. That's a typical request from a dealer that hey, I want to start doing service for people that do things by themselves. Maybe I could make a compelling message around that. So I think those are really great starts. Um, I think the one that is probably what I've seen from a direct mail perspective. I think off
Yeah.
lease, off loan is
Right.
critical.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to fish in your market
Yep,
best.
makes sense. So, last question for you, Michael, and I'll let you go.
Yep.
You'll get into an elevator and there's a dealer there and be like, "Hey, Michael, I remember seeing something about Experian, AMM, and Full Throttle. Like, what is that again? Why should I care?"
I would start with the fact that the advantage that Full Throttle and AMM that they're bringing to the marketplace, Mr. Dealer, is they're going to talk to you in your language.
Yeah.
You're not going to get ad speak. They talk to you the way you think about driving business, driving profitability for your dealership. Um, Definitely worth a listen for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It was great to have you on, Michael, and looking forward to our continued partnership and bringing value to the entire automotive industry.
You got it, and see you at NADA.